Hey, it's Chris, Liege Games. Gussy Gorillas, Bitewing Games, card play. What do you need to know? Is it right for you? Everything you need to know. Here we go. Let's talk. So the game is relatively straightforward, right? All you do is you pull out your little rule book and you pull out your little banana tokens and you pull out the full deck of cards that you have right here. And let me tell you, this is a massive amount of cards. All you're doing on a game-by-game basis is you're playing several rounds until someone gets 2 of these said banana tokens. And the banana tokens just signify that you won a certain round based on having the most points. All you're doing with this game is you are dealing out 11 of these cards, numbered anywhere from 1 to 12, with specials as well as special actions included depending on the player count, and you're facing them away from you towards your opponent so that they can see what you have and that you don't have a clue. And you have your pile of cards in front of you and you are trying to either trade with other people who may have something that you want, or you may think that they have better than you have, or you gradually add cards to tempt them, because when you trade your hand for their hand. No hand size limitation here. And if you don't like what they're bidding, or you think that people are being too aggressive and you might actually have something good, then you just take it and you play it face up in front of you, and those are your cards. You go until everybody's out of cards face down in front of them. That's the end of the game. Then you score them up. Now, the scoring here, based on the special powers, the actions, and what the cards can do themselves, is really the sticking point here. There are 3 different types of special actions that you're going to be taking that you just need to know about, right? You have flip, you have reverse, and you have split. Those are the 3 main things that you're going to be doing, while you also have the wilds that are going to act slightly differently, and they're going to affect maybe some of these cards, but they're neither here nor there. They're easy to learn as well. And so flip just means that you have cards that are like this, that are going to be facing this 2, all of a sudden can become a 7. And so that's all it does. Then reverse, well, you have negative cards. Negative cards all of a sudden become positives. But you can also have cards that are positive, that if you have one of those reverses and you don't have a card that you can play it on that's already negative, you have to make one of your positives negatives. So therein lies the balancing dynamic problem that you may run into. Now, if that wasn't enough, then you have the remaining split card. And what happens with a split card is if you ever end up with more than one of the same number, well, they effectively cancel themselves out. So in this case, well, the 1 is the exception. If this were 10s, if this were 5s, if they were 6s, they would get canceled out. But if you have a split card, then the split card doesn't cancel them, it splits them in half, and then not only do you get to count it for the 6 here, you get to also count it for the 6 here. The one exception to that is, like I showed you, the 1s, because normally 1s are actually really good together, because if they're together, they actually make 11, as my kids would do it. But if you have a split, you actually have to split it, and then all of a sudden your 11 points only becomes 2. Total up, play a number of rounds until somebody wins 2 rounds, and that's the game. That's the whole game. So what are my thoughts on it? This is a social game. The consensus was that definitely you need at least 4, probably even, I would dare say, 5 players to really make this game most optimal. Because at 3 and 4, the dynamic of trading back and forth and the dynamic of, well, I'm going to bid 1 card, I'm going to pull up a 2nd card for you, I want a 3rd card for you, it's just, not quite as prevalent overall. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just going to be more group dynamic, and it's going to be more dynamic no matter what the group at that higher player count. Now, I worry when it says 3 to 10 players there that it's, 10 players is a lot. And I don't think you can keep track of half the stuff that's going on the table if you actually do that. And so that's why I'd say probably that 5 or 6 is the most ideal player count for me personally if I'm looking at this game. And, you have plenty of cards. Card shortage is never going to be the issue in this game. You have, like I said, 11 cards for 10 different people. That's 110 cards, so you're never short from that aspect of things. The one last nuance of this game is that when you collect those cards, right, you get them played face up, or you trade for them and then they end up face up. Well, normally you play them like this. You have a stack right here, and so you're stacking them all up as you go, and then at the end of the game you can sort of sort them out and see which one you want to use on here and which one you want to use on there, and great, okay, whatever. Now, if you want to get really strategic with this game, as you're collecting them, instead of putting them in the stack, you put them out so that you can see what's there, and so it gives you a little bit more control of, they have an extra 1. Well, if I get that extra 1, then I'm going to have to maybe have a split, or they have an 8 and I already have a reverse. So if I get that 8, which is a negative 8, then I can use my reverse instead of having to reverse one of my positives. That's the advantage of that. But some people are just going to like, okay, it's too much metagaming, it's too much analysis paralysis. Let's just throw them all back in the stack and keep it that way, which is completely fine too. It's a straightforward 20-minute game, folks. This is just as solid as they solid come. If you're looking for a group game that is more social dynamics rather than social deduction, this is going to play well at all of those player counts. It's going to give you entertainment. It's going to keep you engaged on literally a turn-by-turn basis because there are no turns. It's just simultaneously, you just keep doing pulling and trading until you're out of cards face down. And then when everybody's out of cards face down, that's when you do the totaling. So it's constantly, unlike other card games, other turn-based games in these situations, it's not going to leave you sort of waiting or wandering. It doesn't overstay its welcome, and it just suits that dynamic nicely. So if you're looking for something like that, definitely check this out. Bitewing Games, going live with Zoo Vetus on the same day. There's a campaign for that. Check it out. There you go. Bitewing Games, thank you for sending me this so I can talk about it. Stay classy. Let me know if you have any comments or questions down below. Peace out.